Hi, welcome to FinFlow Podcast. Okay, let's just paint a picture for a second. Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow morning, and bam, your life has fundamentally, irrevocably changed. You've come into an unimaginable fortune. We're talking a massive influx of capital, right? Maybe it's a surprise inheritance from a relative you barely knew, or the big one, a life-altering lottery win, something totally transformative.
Yeah.
Just take a moment. Let that fantasy sink in. The sheer thrill of it. The idea of immediate freedom.
Right.
Telling your boss maybe exactly what you think. Buying everything you've ever dreamed of. Living without a single financial worry breathing down your neck. It's the ultimate dream, isn't
It really is. That's the fantasy everyone plays out in their head.
The very fabric of your life just suddenly completely rewritten. The possibilities feel absolutely endless, like they're shimmering right there, just waiting for you to grab them.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets really interesting and honestly, maybe a little bit stark. For a surprisingly huge number of people, that exact dream can very quickly turn into a complete nightmare.
It's shocking, actually.
It really is. There's this statistic out there that just blows my mind every time I hear it. Over 70% of lottery winners, for instance, find themselves completely broke again.
Within just 3 to 5 years. It's staggering.
3 to 5 years. Think about that.
Mm.
All that money, gone. It's not just about that initial moment of winning, is it? It's about the incredibly challenging, often just disastrous chapter that unfolds after the confetti settles.
Exactly. It highlights a really powerful truth. Getting the wealth is one thing, maybe luck, maybe circumstance.
Right.
But knowing how to actually manage it, how to preserve it, how to make it last, that's a whole different skill set. And it's one that, frankly, most people are never taught.
So what does this all actually mean? Why does this keep happening? Turning this incredible blessing into, well, a burden. And maybe more importantly for anyone listening, how can you avoid becoming just another cautionary tale if something like this ever happened? Today, we're taking a deep dive into exactly that scenario. Incredibly rare, yes, but profoundly impactful if it happens. What do you actually do if you suddenly find yourself with a massive influx of capital? We've really dug into a whole range of insights and wisdom on this, trying to distill the often overlooked implications, both, financial and personal.
Precisely. And this deep dive, it isn't just about the dollars and cents, the numbers on a page. It's about providing a solid plan, a kind of roadmap, really, to make sure that if this kind of wealth comes your way, it actually becomes a lasting blessing, something positive for the long term, not just a fleeting curse.
Right.
It really boils down to preparedness, having a strategy, and truly understanding the often hidden side effects of sudden wealth. We're excited to unpack some of the key nuggets of wisdom, offering practical steps, but also looking at the deeper psychological shifts you kind of need to make.
Okay, let's get into it then. The very first thing suggested right out of the gate. It might genuinely surprise you.
Oh.
It really goes against almost every natural human instinct when something huge and positive happens.
Yeah.
The idea is, don't tell anyone. Immediately.
Silence.
Not your best friends, not your parents, not your siblings. Just keep it quiet for a pretty significant amount of time.
And what's fascinating there is that it isn't just a casual suggestion. It's framed as your absolute #1 priority.
Right.
For very good reasons.
Why is that? Because the urge must be overwhelming, right? To share the news.
Oh, absolutely. The instinct to share good news, especially massive news like this, it's incredibly powerful. It's almost primal,
Yeah.
We want to celebrate. We want to shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
Maybe finally feel seen or validated. Perhaps even sort of quietly enjoy the idea that people who maybe doubted you might see things differently now. But that exact instinct in this very specific, very unique situation is what so often triggers immediate, profound problems. Problems that can completely derail everything before you've even started.
So it's not about being deceptive
Yeah.
or hiding it forever.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. It's not about being sneaky or keeping secrets from loved ones in the long run. It's really about protecting yourself in this incredibly fragile new financial reality you've just landed in. You need to let the news settle with you first. You need to integrate it, understand it yourself before all the external pressures start flooding in.
What kind of pressures?
Oh, expectations from others, requests for money, unsolicited advice, people suddenly treating you differently, and frankly, sometimes overwhelming demands. It can all hit you at once if you announce it too soon.
It sounds a bit like, remember we talked about that analogy, like a fragile new sapling.
Exactly. You wouldn't take a tiny, delicate little tree seedling and plant it right in the middle of a hurricane, would you?
No way.
It needs time. It needs quiet. It needs peace to actually take root, to get its foundation solid before it can even begin to withstand the strong winds of external pressures, the inevitable storms of other people's expectations, hopes, and sometimes, unfortunately, their greed.
That makes sense. It also connects to the psychological side you mentioned.
Definitely. There's often this almost irresistible urge with sudden wealth to prove something. Maybe gain validation through immediate flashy spending, buying the huge house, the fast car, throwing crazy parties, making big impulsive gifts to show everyone you've arrived.
Right, the instant millionaire makeover.
Exactly. And delaying the announcement, we're talking a significant period, maybe 6 months, maybe even longer. It's a strategic move. It's pure self-preservation. It buys you absolutely invaluable time, mental space, and crucial clarity. It lets you get a strong financial and emotional foundation under you before the world with all its hopes, dreams. And sometimes, yeah, it's unfortunate opportunism comes knocking at your door.
So it's about letting the reality sink in without all the noise.
Precisely. Without the external noise distorting your initial decisions, it allows you to gain perspective, to understand that while your bank balance has dramatically changed overnight, your core self, your values, your real needs, they probably haven't. Not yet, anyway.
Okay, so that period of quiet, that time to let things settle, it leads directly to the next vital step, doesn't it? Once the money actually lands in your account, after dealing with one very specific initial thing we'll get to, the advice is stark. Let it sit.
Let it sit.
And by sit, they mean don't touch it for at least 6 months. That sounds, well, like an eternity when you're suddenly sitting on a pile of cash. The urge to spend must be screaming.
Oh, it absolutely is screaming. It might sound like an incredibly long time, especially when your mind is just racing with a million possibilities, the things you can buy, the trips you can take, the problems you can solve.
Yeah.
But it is so, so vital.
And it's not just about the money itself sitting there, like earning interest.
No, it's secondary. This isn't primarily about letting the money settle in the bank, although that happens too. It's mostly about allowing you, the person, to truly process this absolutely life-altering change. Your entire life has shifted on its axis financially, yes, but deep down, at your core, you're still the same person. You have the same immediate urges, the same past desires you always fantasized about fulfilling, the same deep-seated emotional responses to money and security, or maybe insecurity. And those impulses, those knee-jerk reactions, they change dramatically over time once the initial shock wears off.
No, so.
Well, plans you make in the first few euphoric weeks, buying that island, starting that llama farm, whatever it is, will often look completely different, maybe even incredibly reckless, after 6 months of calm reflection and careful, dispassionate thought. You need distance.
So it's like a cooling off period for your brain.
Exactly that, a cooling off period. It lets the initial rush of adrenaline, dopamine, excitement, maybe even panic subside. And during this time, the suggestion is to actively engage in reflection, maybe daily journaling, maybe just quiet contemplation.
What does that achieve?
This consistent, conscious effort allows for a gradual but fundamental shift. You move from those reactive spending desires, the immediate gratification stuff, the sports cars, the mansions, towards thoughtful, long-term strategic planning. It's the huge difference between just throwing money at every past whim you ever had and consciously, deliberately building a secure, sustainable future for yourself and maybe your family.
And if you skip that pause?
Without that essential pause, the money is often gone, or at least severely diminished, before the reality of its long-term impact truly sinks in. You're left with a trail of expensive regrets rather than lasting security. It allows you to move from being emotional and reactive with the money to being rational and proactive. It's critical.
Okay, so you've managed the silence, you've weathered that crucial 6-month or more processing period, letting the money just be. What's the very first concrete financial step you should actually take? The advice seems incredibly clear on this one, almost universal.
Yes, it is. Pay off all your existing debt, every single penny.
That's the one initial expense you mentioned earlier.
That's it. This is defined, really, as the first and only expense you should undertake immediately after the money arrives and you've had that vital processing time. Debt is, well, it's like a financial cancer.
Wow. Okay.
It truly eats away at your life.
Yeah.
It's constantly demanding payments. It imposes limitations on your choices every single day. And it creates this persistent underlying stress, even if you don't always consciously feel it.
So pay it all off. Credit cards, mortgage, loans.
Everything. Systematically pay off every single existing debt. High-interest credit cards first, obviously. Lingering student loans.
Mhm.
Your mortgage, imagine owning your home outright. Car loans, personal loans, any and all outstanding obligations. Just wipe the slate clean.
That must feel incredible.
Immense liberation. That action removes all those significant recurring burdens. You no longer have those monthly payments hanging over your head like a guillotine. You can finally breathe a huge financial sigh of relief and genuinely start from a position of zero liabilities. It's a powerful starting point.
But there's a catch, isn't there? A warning attached.
A huge one. A crucial, absolutely vital caveat here that cannot be stressed enough. The insights hammer this home. You must stop immediately after paying off that existing debt.
Stop spending.
Stop creating new debt. There's this incredibly powerful, often very deceptive, false sense of invincibility that can creep in when you suddenly have a lot of money. You start thinking, oh, money is no longer an issue for me, or I can easily repay any new loan I take out.
I can see how that happens.
It's a dangerous, almost universal illusion. And it's exactly that thinking that has led countless lottery winners and inheritors straight back to ruin, sometimes even worse off than before because now they have bigger liabilities.
So pay off the old stuff. Celebrate the freedom.
And then slam the brakes hard on creating any new obligations. No new car loans right away, no financing fancy toys, no taking out a massive mortgage on a whim just because you can. It's like clearing the foundation of a building, right? You meticulously clear away all the old rubble, you ensure absolute stability, you get down to a pristine base. Before you even think about starting construction on new floors, new structures, new commitments, this step eliminates the leak in your financial bucket. It allows the rest of your fortune to actually be built upon solid ground.
Okay, this next piece of advice. It's fascinating because, again, it just flies directly in the face of the big fantasy, doesn't it?
Right.
Almost everyone, when they imagine a huge windfall, the first thing they picture is...
Telling the boss off.
Exactly. Marching into the boss's office, telling them precisely where they can stick their job, walking out that door with a triumphant grin, maybe a little skip, and never ever looking back.
The ultimate mic drop moment.
Right. But the advice is absolutely unequivocal. Do not quit your job. Not yet, anyway.
This is probably one of the most counterintuitive pieces of advice in the whole lot, yet it's so incredibly critical for long-term well-being, not just financial, but psychological too.
Why? It seems like the obvious first step to freedom.
Quitting your job immediately is often described, quite starkly actually, as the first domino in a series of events that will lead to personal bankruptcy within just a few short years.
Wow, really?
Yes. People wildly underestimate the profound psychological and structural impact of suddenly having no work, no routine, no purpose built into their day. The core reason is pretty simple. Humans are just not wired to be non-productive for long stretches.
Even if you have millions in the bank.
Even then, no matter how much you might romanticize a life of endless leisure, sipping cocktails on a beach somewhere, the reality is most people need purpose. They need structure. They need something meaningful to do with their time. If you're suddenly not working,
You get bored.
you get bored, yes, but more than that, you inevitably find other ways to fill your days. And too often, especially when you have a lot of money and no constraints, those ways involve spending money. Taking up expensive hobbies you quickly abandon, endless travel that loses its novelty, or sometimes just sheer idleness that leads to poor choices and chipping away at your good fortune.
So it's about more than just the money coming in from the job.
Oh, much more. There's a critical practical aspect, too. Your job, even if you don't love it, provides a routine. It offers social connections, however mundane. It keeps you anchored to a familiar reality during a time when everything else in your life feels like it's spinning.
I hadn't thought of it that way.
And think about this. While the immediate satisfaction of telling off your boss might seem huge in the fantasy, the reality is your feelings towards work have probably fundamentally changed anyway the moment that money hit your account.
How so?
The balance of power has completely shifted. It's entirely in your favor now. You have the ultimate leverage, the power to walk away if things get truly unbearable. You can negotiate terms you couldn't dream of before. Or you might simply find you can enjoy the work more for its own sake without the constant financial pressure weighing you down.
So the option to leave changes everything, even if you don't take it.
Exactly. That knowledge alone can profoundly alter your perspective on your current role. It allows you to approach it on your own terms. Maybe you will even discover a renewed appreciation for parts of it, who knows? But maintaining that routine, that structure, helps anchor you during a period of immense internal and external change. It provides a crucial sense of normalcy when everything else feels upside down. Don't underestimate that.
Okay, so you've paid off the debt, big relief.
Yeah.
You're staying put in your job, at least for now, maintaining structure. You're letting the money sit, which buys you that crucial commodity,
Right.
time. This brings us neatly to a really critical piece of advice, one that truly underpins any hope of sustainable wealth. Learn before you spend. This isn't just about crunching numbers, is it? It sounds deeper, like self-investment.
It's absolutely foundational. You hit the nail on the head. Simply having a huge pile of money doesn't magically download financial wisdom into your brain. It doesn't mean you suddenly know how to manage it, how to grow it effectively, or, and this is critical, how to protect it from people who might try to take advantage of you.
Which happens a lot, according to the statistics.
Constantly. Lack of financial literacy is consistently one of the biggest reasons these massive fortunes, even vast ones, just evaporate so incredibly quickly. It makes you vulnerable in two main ways.
Okay.
Either you become reckless with your newfound funds, making emotionally driven, poorly researched decisions, chasing high-risk opportunities, or you become incredibly vulnerable to con artists, bad investment pitches, and people, sometimes even people you know, who will unscrupulously take advantage of your inexperience.
The classic fool and his money scenario.
Precisely. As the old saying goes, and it's a saying for a very good reason, a fool and his money are soon parted. And you definitely do not want to be that fool after receiving such an incredible gift. The beauty is, you now have the ultimate luxury. You have capital, yes, but you also have time. Use both. Invest in yourself and your financial education first, long before you start thinking about major purchases or complex investment schemes.
So what does learning look like here? Trying to become a Wall Street guru overnight?
No, absolutely not. That's another trap. For the average person who suddenly inherits or wins a massive sum, they are, by definition, not a sophisticated investor with years of market experience under their belt. And the advice is crystal clear. Do not try to become one overnight, and certainly don't try it with your entire windfall on the line.
So start simple.
Start with the basics. Foundational knowledge that actually empowers you rather than speculative trading that just risks your entire future. There are some absolutely phenomenal, very accessible books out there. We're not talking dense academic texts that teach how a normal person can build and grow wealth. Even without a huge fortune to start with, they lay out fundamental, timeless principles.
Like Personal Finance 101.
Exactly. Personal Finance 101, basic investing principles, understanding compound interest, diversification, risk management, things that provide lasting value, not get-rich-quick nonsense. And then there's another crucial layer, understanding your money mindset. How your emotions, your upbringing, your hidden beliefs about wealth and scarcity, how all that influences your financial decisions without you even realizing it. There are great resources on this too, helping you understand your own psychology around money. These are the kinds of resources that will literally change how you think about and interact with money. They help you become a savvy steward of your wealth, not just a temporary custodian waiting to lose it.
That feels like a real aha moment. Wealth management isn't just spreadsheets.
Not at all. It's profound personal development. It's a shift in understanding yourself and the world. It's crucial.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Now, let's talk about a specific scenario, especially relevant for inherited wealth. Often there's already a team in place, right? Like a financial advisor who is working with the person who left you the money.
Yes, very common.
The advice here seems really strong, and apparently it addresses a common, sometimes disastrous mistake people make in this situation.
Yeah.
Do not just immediately switch financial advisors.
This point cannot be overstated. It's often overlooked in the rush of excitement, the feeling of wanting to take control, make it yours. But think about it. If the money you received came from a wealthy relative, someone who managed to accumulate and preserve that wealth.
They probably knew what they were doing.
Exactly. It is highly likely they already had a trusted, established financial advisor or team working with them. And the most compelling proof, the undeniable evidence of that advisor's competence, their integrity, their good service, it's literally the substantial amount of money you are now holding in your hands.
The proof is in the pudding, so to speak.
Precisely. Your money is almost certainly already in capable, proven hands. So your absolute first step should not be to fire them and bring in your peasant who just got his license. No. Your first step is to thoroughly familiarize yourself with the existing relationship your relative had. Understand the services they provided. Learn how they managed that wealth. Ask questions. Review their strategies. Spend time understanding the current setup before you even contemplate making any changes.
Why are good advisors apparently hard to find or replace?
Well, good financial advisors, especially those managing significant wealth for high net worth individuals, are typically referral based. They're often quite selective about the clients they take on, and yes, they can be expensive. But they're expensive for a reason. They generally know what they're doing, they have a proven track record, and they're good at navigating complex financial landscapes. Their value often far outweighs their cost in terms of protecting and growing your assets.
So what's the big mistake people make?
The huge mistake individuals with newfound wealth often make is to immediately pull the money and move it to an unproven advisor. Maybe it's someone who cold calls them, promising incredibly high, totally unrealistic returns that sound too good to be true because they usually are.
Or the friend of a friend scenario?
Or the friend who just got their license and wants to prove themselves with your millions. These unproven advisors can quickly, sometimes catastrophically, deplete your funds through bad speculative investments, churning accounts for commissions, excessive hidden fees, or sometimes just outright mismanagement born of sheer inexperience.
So the temptation to assert control is strong, but risky.
Very strong. You want to make it yours? Bring in your team.
But leveraging those established successful relationships for continuity and proven competence is almost always the far wiser, and certainly the safer, path initially. This is a time for patience, due diligence, learning, not for impulsive restructuring based on ego or misplaced trust.
Okay, prudence, patience, learning, wise counsel. That seems to be the theme. But what about the fun stuff? The lifestyle changes everyone instantly dreams of. That sprawling mansion, the fleet of exotic sports cars spoiling everyone you know rotten.
Ah, yes, the spending spree fantasy. Right. The advice here is really insightful, I thought. It draws a line. Aim to get comfortable, but not rich,
Yeah.
in your immediate spending habits. It immediately brings to mind those sad stories you hear about professional athletes, right? Huge contracts, colossal earnings.
And then broke 5 years after retirement. Yeah, it's a classic, devastating pitfall, and it can drain even the largest fortunes surprisingly quickly.
So what's the difference between comfortable and rich in this context?
It's a crucial distinction for long-term financial survival and honestly just overall well-being. Many people, the second the money lands, their first thought is, right, I need that massive, ridiculously expensive mansion in the most prestigious neighborhood.
Keeping up with the Joneses, but on steroids.
Exactly. But what they fatally overlook almost every time are the hidden recurring costs that come attached to assets like that. We're talking hefty property taxes that only ever seem to go up, constant expensive maintenance for a large estate roof leak, systems break, things need updating, significant insurance premiums, and just the general upkeep, landscaping, pool care, utilities for huge space, maybe even security.
It's not just the purchase price.
Not even close. These aren't one-time purchases. They add, as the insights put it, a layer of recurring debt to your life. Even if you paid cash for the house, these ongoing costs silently, relentlessly chip away at your principal, increasing your monthly outflow exponentially, often far beyond what you initially anticipated.
And does this apply to other big flashy purchases too, like cars?
Oh, absolutely. The advice specifically warns against that common impulse. I'm rich now, so I'll buy every single family member a brand new luxury car. Sounds generous, maybe, but financially.
It's a terrible idea.
In this context, yes. Cars are almost universally liabilities, not assets. They depreciate like a stone the moment you drive them off the lot. They require ongoing, significant expenses for insurance, fuel, maintenance, repairs. If you fill your driveway with a fleet of new, expensive vehicles for everyone you know, your money is literally wasting away in the driveway.
So the core principle isn't about showing off.
Not at all. The core principle here is to fix your life. Use the money to eliminate immediate financial stress, pay off your debts, secure your future foundation, invest wisely for long-term growth. Not to completely remodel your life overnight based on some idealized, often totally unsustainable, and frequently misunderstood Hollywood version of what a rich life is supposed to look like.
So sustained comfort, peace of mind.
Financial peace, long-term security. That's the goal. Not fleeting extravagance that puts you right back on the path to financial instability, just with bigger bills this time.
Okay, this next point. This one feels incredibly difficult. Maybe the most emotionally challenging part of suddenly having money, because it hits right at the heart of your closest relationships.
Yeah, this one's tough.
Once the news inevitably leaks out, and let's be real, it probably will eventually. The advice is stark, almost brutal.
Right.
Protect your wealth from friends and family. This means learning the incredibly hard, gut-wrenching lesson of saying no when people ask you for money.
This is perhaps the most emotionally charged, the most personally complex minefield you have to navigate with sudden wealth. And the insights are blunt. They describe it as a genuine lose-lose situation if you don't handle it with immense foresight and very firm boundaries from the outset.
Why lose-lose?
Because the truth is, once the cat is out of the bag, once people know you have a significant sum of money, especially money you didn't visibly earn through years of grinding work, they witness some individuals, even people you love and who mean well, will inevitably feel a sense of, well, maybe entitlement isn't quite the right word, but expectation.
Like your good fortune should somehow spill over to them.
Exactly. They'll come to you with new business ideas they need funding for, new projects, deep personal problems. They genuinely believe your money can just magically fix with little effort on your part. The pressure, emotional and otherwise, will be immense. It can feel overwhelming.
So what happens if you do give them money?
Here's the blunt reality, borne out by countless stories. If you give money away, especially large sums, without a clear, legally sound structure, like a formal loan with repayment terms, which is awkward in itself, you will, in almost all likelihood, never see that money again.
Ouch.
And often, worse than just losing the money, when the money is gone, or if you can't give them more later, the relationship itself suffers, sometimes irreparably. Resentment builds, expectations aren't met, awkwardness creeps in. It's a sad truth, but profoundly common.
And if you don't give them the money?
Well, on the other hand, if you don't give them money, especially when they genuinely feel you can easily help and they really need it, they will likely resent you for it, deeply. So you're often stuck in this horrible dilemma of give away your fortune and potentially lose both the money and the relationship eventually.
Right.
Or don't give it away, face significant personal resentment and accusations of being selfish or changed by the money, but at least preserve your financial future. The advice is stark but clear. While dealing with resentment is incredibly painful, at least in that second option, as they put it, your children can still afford to go to college.
Wow, that's heavy.
It is.
Yeah.
This money, this windfall, it's your family's safety net. It's your foundation for future security. And every time you give chunks of it away without a clear, strategic, and often legally documented return path, you are essentially putting holes in it. You're compromising your own long-term stability and potentially your kids' future.
So boundaries are key.
Absolutely crucial. Maintaining strong financial boundaries, often established with the help of your financial advisor and maybe even a lawyer, to act as a buffer is vital. It's necessary for preserving both your wealth and, paradoxically, the authenticity of your relationships in the long run. It's not about being uncaring. It's about being able to say, perhaps through your advisor, I care about you deeply, but I simply cannot jeopardize my family's long-term financial security in this way. It's incredibly hard, but necessary.
And sticking with relationships, there's a very direct, maybe seemingly obvious piece of advice about your most intimate one, your partner, your spouse.
Yes.
Do not cheat on your partner. Full stop. It might seem like stating the obvious to many people listening, but the insights clearly flag this as a very real and potentially incredibly costly risk that often emerges alongside newfound wealth.
Yeah, while it might sound straightforward, maybe even a bit simplistic on the surface, this point actually underscores a critical and often underestimated vulnerability that sudden money can introduce into personal relationships, especially long-term ones.
How does money increase that risk?
Well, wealth, ironically perhaps, can significantly increase temptations. Suddenly, with more money, maybe there are more opportunities for travel, more access to lavish entertainment, new social circles, and unfortunately, potentially more encounters with people who might be drawn to you for motives other than your sparkling personality, financial or otherwise.
Right.
And if mistakes happen, if infidelity occurs, those mistakes become incredibly expensive. And the insights are brutally blunt here, citing things like half of everything and child support expensive in the devastating event that it leads to a separation or a divorce. The financial fallout can be catastrophic, wiping out a huge chunk of the windfall.
So the message is about protecting the relationship itself.
Exactly. The core message here is profound, really. This money, this incredible opportunity, should ideally strengthen the bond between the members of the family, not drive them away, or introduce destructive wedges. It becomes a true test of maturity, of foresight, of the underlying strength and communication within the existing relationship.
So wealth doesn't just solve problems. It can create them, too.
It absolutely can. It can amplify existing cracks in a relationship, expose previously hidden vulnerabilities, or create entirely new pressures and temptations if it's not handled with immense care, open communication, trust, and deep respect for the partnership. The importance of maintaining integrity, actively nurturing your core relationship, and consciously avoiding these common traps is vital. It ensures your fortune remains a shared blessing, a foundation for a stronger family unit, rather than becoming a catalyst for personal ruin, heartbreak, and profound regret. Prioritizing your partner, your family, that's an investment in your holistic well-being, far more valuable than any material possession you could buy.
Okay, let's pivot slightly. Back to the dreams money can buy. The dream of being your own boss, right? Taking that passion project, that idea you've had simmering for years, and finally turning it into a lucrative venture.
The entrepreneurial dream.
Exactly. Yeah. Many people, the moment they get a fortune, they immediately think, this is it. Now's my chance to start that cafe, that tech company, that artisanal widget factory I always wanted. I finally have the capital, so success is practically guaranteed.
If only it were that simple.
Right. But the advice here is, again, very sobering, almost cautionary. Do not just jump in and start a business immediately.
That dream is certainly appealing, isn't it? And the entrepreneurial spirit, the desire to build something, that's commendable. But the cold, hard reality for sudden wealth recipients is often far, far harsher than that optimistic fantasy.
Because businesses are risky.
Incredibly risky. There's a stark statistic that just looms large over any new venture. Something like 9 out of 10 businesses fail within their first few years. 9 out of 10.
Wow.
And the insights add a rather blunt perspective. You've essentially already exhausted your luck getting the money in the first place.
Meaning don't push your luck.
Kind of. What they mean is winning a lottery, inheriting a massive sum unexpectedly that's often a stroke of incredible, rare, almost random luck. Building a successful business, however, that is almost never just about luck. It's about skill, deep industry knowledge, tireless effort, navigating failures, resilience, smart pivoting, understanding cash flow, marketing, managing people. Often years and years of struggle and slow, incremental growth. It's a completely different ballgame. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and certainly not another lottery ticket.
So rushing in with cash isn't the answer.
Rushing into a business venture armed only with newfound capital, especially if you lack significant prior experience in that specific industry, or if you don't have a deeply researched, robust, objectively vetted business plan, that is very often a recipe for rapid financial disaster. It's so easy to get caught up in what they call the illusion of potential success. You believe that because you have the capital, success is somehow inevitable, or that money alone can buy you the expertise you lack, or overcome fundamental market challenges. But that illusion can fade incredibly quickly, and so will the funds you sink, often pour, into a poorly conceived or badly executed venture. Money disappears alarmingly fast in a failing business.
So what's the smarter approach if you really have that entrepreneurial itch?
The strong recommendation is patience. If you absolutely must explore an entrepreneurial path, start incredibly small, maybe as a side project while you keep your day job. Perhaps by investing a very small, strictly calculated percentage of your overall wealth, an amount you can genuinely afford to lose entirely without impacting your core financial security.
And involve your advisor.
Critically, talk to your financial advisor. Run all your investment decisions by them, especially anything related to starting or funding a business. They can provide a sober, objective, realistic assessment. They can challenge your assumptions. They might connect you with experienced mentors or consultants in that field. They can help you avoid those impulsive, emotionally driven, high-risk ventures that can quickly, and sometimes very quietly, deplete your entire fortune before you even realize what's happening. This is about disciplined, strategic investment, not just throwing money at a passion project and hoping for the best.
Okay, this next point feels like it might be the absolute bedrock for making sure the money actually lasts. Not just for your lifetime, but potentially beyond. It's referred to as the 5% rule.
Yes, the 5% rule. This is arguably the key to achieving perpetual wealth, the secret sauce to having your money work for you indefinitely, rather than you just spending it down to zero.
So how does it work? It sounds simple, 5%.
The concept is simple, yes, but the discipline required can be incredibly challenging. It's based on a fundamental understanding. A large sum of money, no matter how substantial it seems initially, will not last forever if you are simply spending down the principal amount. It will run out eventually. To make it last, you have to allow it to grow and generate its own income.
Through investments.
Exactly. Simply put, the bulk of your money needs to be wisely invested in a diversified portfolio. Typically, this would be a mix of assets like stocks and bonds, perhaps accessed easily and cheaply through broad market index funds. The goal of this portfolio is to generate a consistent average annual return over the long term.
And the 5% is what you can spend.
That's the golden rule. The goal, the absolute core principle, is to only spend the annual return generated by your investments and never ever touch the original principal amount you invested. If you can manage this discipline, then in theory, your principal remains intact or even grows slightly while continuing to generate income for you year after year, decade after decade, potentially forever.
That sounds powerful. Where does the 5% number actually come from?
It comes from historical analysis of long-term investment returns, typically adjusted for inflation. The idea is that a well-diversified portfolio, like one tracking a broad stock market index such as the S&P 500, has historically returned on average significantly more than 5% per year over long periods. So withdrawing around 4 or 5% allows for a good buffer, accounts for inflation eroding your purchasing power, and gives the principal a good chance to maintain its value or even grow over time. Some advisors might use 4% just to be even safer.
Can you give us an example? Make it concrete.
Sure. Let's use a really life-changing sum. Say you suddenly have $5 million, a huge amount. If you invest that $5 million wisely and apply the 5% rule...
You can spend 5% of that each year.
Exactly. 5% of $5 million is $250,000, $250,000. That means you could potentially withdraw and spend $250,000 every single year, year after year, without ever touching the initial $5 million principal, assuming your investments perform roughly in line with historical averages.
Wow. $250K a year for life from the investment income alone.
Potentially, yes. Diversify that portfolio well, manage your expenses carefully to live within that $250,000 income stream, and you are essentially financially set for life. And importantly, your wealth isn't just static. The underlying $5 million principal can continue to grow, potentially providing even more income later or leaving a substantial legacy for future generations.
That sounds like the dream scenario. What's the catch? Why doesn't everyone just do this?
The immense challenge, the hurdle where most people stumble and fall, is purely psychological. It's resisting the powerful temptation, the constant urge to spend beyond that 5% limit. Oh, just this once, I'll dip into the principal for this amazing opportunity, or it's only a little bit extra this year.
The discipline factor.
Exactly. Discipline and delayed gratification. This is where those resources we talked about earlier, the books on money mindset, behavioral finance, understanding your spending triggers, learning the habits of disciplined savers and investors, become so incredibly valuable. They teach you the psychological fortitude required to maintain this critical balance. It's about fundamentally understanding that true, lasting wealth isn't measured by what you spend, but by what you keep and allow to grow. That 5% rule is the mathematical key, but your mindset is what actually turns the lock.
That makes a lot of sense. And thinking about lasting wealth naturally leads us to the next generation, doesn't it? We've talked a lot about protecting your own fortune, but a significant windfall like this will inevitably have a huge impact on your children's lives too.
Absolutely. It changes their future landscape completely.
The insights bring up this interesting idea of needing to protect your kids from the money, in a way, using powerful tools like trusts. Can you explain that?
Yes, this is a really fundamental strategy when you look at how the truly wealthy, those families who successfully build and maintain generational wealth over decades or even centuries, think about their legacy and their heirs. They understand a crucial point. Simply handing over a massive lump sum of money directly to children, especially young adults who maybe haven't yet developed the skills to earn, manage, or truly value money themselves, can actually be detrimental rather than beneficial.
How so? In what way can it be harmful?
Well, it can inadvertently stifle ambition. Why strive? Why work hard? Why take risks if you know there's a huge pile of cash waiting for you regardless? It can foster dependency, preventing them from developing financial resilience and independence. And sadly, it can also expose them to the very same pitfalls we've been discussing: mismanagement, impulsive spending, vulnerability to exploitation or bad influences. Sometimes unearned wealth can do more harm than good to a young person's development.
So what's the alternative? How do trusts help?
To ensure financial security for their children without undermining their personal growth and responsibility, wealthy families often use sophisticated legal instruments, most commonly trusts. A trust is essentially a legal entity, a framework that holds assets, money, property, investments on behalf of a beneficiary, your child in this case. The key is that these assets are managed by a designated trustee.
Who's the trustee?
It could be a trusted family member, a close friend, but often, especially with large sums, it's a professional trustee or a trust company, someone impartial, experienced, and legally bound to follow the terms of the trust.
And you can set rules within the trust.
Exactly. Trusts are incredibly versatile. They can be structured with very specific rules and provisions outlined by you when you set it up. For instance, a trust might dictate that your children receive only a certain allowance or income generated by the trust's investments each year. Or it might stipulate that funds can only be dispersed for specific approved purposes, like paying for education tuition, providing seed money to start a legitimate business, maybe with advisor approval, helping with a down payment on a first home, or perhaps funds only become fully accessible after they reach certain age milestones, say 30, 35, 40.
So they get the benefit, but not control of the lump sum.
Precisely. The critical element is that the original principal investment held within the trust remains untouched and protected, continuing to grow and generate income according to the investment strategy. This allows your children to receive significant financial benefits and security from the money without ever having direct, unfettered control over the large sum itself, especially when they might be too young or inexperienced to handle it wisely. It prevents impulsive spending and reduces their vulnerability to external pressures or poor judgment.
It raises a really interesting question for any parent, doesn't it? Even without a massive windfall. What's that delicate balance?
It really does. The balance between providing for your children's future, giving them advantages and security, versus ensuring they still develop their own financial literacy, a sense of responsibility, personal resilience, and a strong work ethic. Trusts are a powerful legal mechanism to provide immense financial security while potentially mitigating some of the risks associated with sudden, unearned wealth, possibly corrupting ambition or fostering unhealthy dependency. It's about trying to build a sustainable, positive future for them, not just handing them a huge check and crossing your fingers.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. The immediate financial strategies, managing relationships, long-term growth, and legacy planning. But what about the broader, maybe less tangible impact on your day-to-day reality? This next point might genuinely surprise some listeners because it directly challenges that common assumption that having loads of money just makes everything in life automatically easier.
Ah, yes. The money solves all problems myth.
Exactly. The advice is prepare for profound change, yes, but also understand that you are now effectively a target.
This is such a critical mindset shift, and it's one that people often miss entirely until they experience it firsthand, sometimes painfully. The common assumption, that almost universal fantasy we talked about, is that more money automatically equates to an easier, more stress-free, idyllic life. Smooth sailing from here on out.
But the reality is different.
Often, yes. The insights reveal something closer to the inverse. The more money you have, the bigger the target on your back. This isn't paranoia, it's a practical reality for many wealthy individuals. It means you are statistically significantly more likely to be sued, sometimes for completely frivolous reasons, by people hoping for a quick settlement. People you thought you knew might suddenly try to scam you or manipulate you. Others will attempt to use emotional leverage, guilt trips, or sob stories to try and extract money from you.
So having money isn't just relaxing on a yacht.
Not usually, no. Having significant wealth isn't a passive state of effortless luxury for most people. It actually requires a lot of active work. It demands constant vigilance, careful decision-making, and often a significant amount of emotional management just dealing with the pressures and requests.
But surely some problems are solved.
Oh, absolutely. Let's be clear. Some very real, very stressful problems are often solved almost instantly by money. The gnawing daily financial anxieties, the struggle to pay the bills each month, the fear of losing your job and not being able to cope, those burdens can lift, and that's huge. But the point is, in their place, other, often more complex problems rise up.
Like what?
Things you might never have worried about before. Managing security for yourself and your family becomes a concern for some, dealing with an endless stream of requests for money and unsolicited business pitches. Learning to navigate sophisticated scams that specifically target wealthy individuals. Ensuring your wealth is protected legally through estate planning, trusts, maybe even prenuptial agreements. Dealing with the psychological impact on yourself and your children.
So life doesn't necessarily get easier, it just changes.
It changes. It trades one set of challenges, often very immediate and tangible ones, for another set, which can be more intricate, more nuanced, sometimes more emotionally taxing, and which require constant vigilance and a completely different mindset than you needed before. It's not just about financial planning anymore. It expands into legal preparedness, personal security strategy, a need for heightened discretion, and sometimes developing a deeper, perhaps even slightly cynical understanding of human nature and motivations. You have to become a very savvy and often quite guarded steward of your new reality.
Wow. Okay. Given all this intense focus on managing the money, future security, legal protections, navigating unexpected challenges, it seems incredibly easy to overlook something absolutely foundational to actually enjoying any of it.
Mhm.
The next piece of advice shifts the focus entirely to a different, often tragically neglected kind of investment in investing in your personal health.
This might seem like an obvious point, maybe even tangential when we're deep in discussion about financial windfalls, tax strategies, and investment portfolios. But it is so often and so profoundly neglected when people get hyper-focused solely on the financial numbers and the material things they can now acquire.
Why is it so important in this context?
Think about it logically. If you now have this incredible fortune, this potential for immense freedom, security, and opportunity, you absolutely want to be able to enjoy it, right? And you want to enjoy it for as long as possible. It would be such a profound tragedy, and often an entirely avoidable one, to suddenly have all the resources in the world but be unable to enjoy them because you've become, as the insights put it, a victim of your own bad choices when it comes to your health.
Money can't buy health, as they say.
It can't buy it directly, no. But it can buy access to the very best healthcare professionals, the most thorough checkups, the finest organic food if you choose, the most advanced fitness equipment or trainers. What it can't do is magically instill good habits overnight or instantly reverse years of neglect or unhealthy choices. That still requires personal effort and commitment.
So what are the actionable steps here?
They're pretty clear and empowering, actually. Start with a full, comprehensive medical checkup. Get a clear picture of your current health baseline, know your numbers, understand your risks. Then, crucially, make a conscious, ongoing effort to simply take better care of yourself. Pay more meticulous attention than maybe you could before to what you consume your diet, the quality of your sleep, managing stress, moderating alcohol or other substances. Actively find ways to improve your overall physical and mental health and well-being. Go for walks, join a gym, take up a healthy hobby. Use your resources to support your health, not undermine it with excessive indulgence.
It reinforces that old adage, doesn't it? Health is wealth.
It really does. It's the ultimate wealth. It's the absolute foundation upon which all other enjoyment of your financial fortune is built. What earthly good is having millions or tens of millions of dollars stashed away if you're too ill, too tired, too burdened by preventable health issues to truly experience and savor the freedom, the travel, the opportunities, the time with loved ones that the money could provide? Investing in your health is the essential prerequisite for living a truly rich life in every sense of the word.
Okay, this feels like it brings us towards an overarching philosophy, doesn't it? A kind of ultimate guiding principle for navigating this entire potentially overwhelming, life-altering journey. And it sounds almost deceptively simple. Just play it safe. Why risk it?
This point really does drive home the core fundamental message distilled from all these insights and cautionary tales. You find yourself, if this happens, in an incredibly fortunate, almost impossibly rare position. You have the potential, the resources, to provide a lasting, profound benefit, not just to yourself, but to your entire family, potentially for generations to come. And all you really have to do, fundamentally, to achieve that
Is not screw it up.
essentially, yes, just play it safe. This means actively avoiding all those common pitfalls we've spent this time discussing. Don't chase those risky get-rich-quick schemes that inevitably find their way to people with money. Avoid shady or unproven business ventures pitched by people you barely know. Do not try to push your luck further by making highly speculative investments promising unrealistic returns. Definitely don't start gambling heavily with your principal. You've already won the biggest gamble imaginable. You don't need to roll the dice again.
It sounds almost boring in a way compared to the fantasy.
Maybe. But boring can be beautiful when it means lifelong security. The paradoxical yet profoundly powerful piece of advice that encapsulates this is, try to behave like this event never happened.
Really? How does that work?
Well, obviously with one huge life-changing exception, all your existing debt and those immediate grinding financial problems have magically disappeared, poof, gone. Replaced by immense security and a substantial asset base. But beyond that, Try to maintain aspects of your previous life. Keep your values. Don't drastically inflate your lifestyle overnight. Live your life largely in accordance with this play it safe rule. Stick to prudent financial management. Focus on diversified, sensible long-term investments. Avoid those reckless, impulsive, ego-driven decisions.
And the money will last.
If you do that, the money will almost certainly last and likely grow steadily over time. You'll be taken care of for life, and probably your kids too. The absolute key is simply not to abuse this extraordinary rare gift. Don't take unnecessary, uncompensated risks. Cultivate a deep sense of discipline, maybe even humility, and certainly gratitude. Recognize the sheer rarity of this good fortune and the immense responsibility that comes along with stewarding it wisely. Don't try to hit another home run. Just protect the one you've already hit out of the park.
And just to wrap things up, there was one more bonus insight mentioned, a concept that kind of frames this whole discussion in a broader way, extending beyond just the financial aspects. It was called the law of averages.
Ah, yes, the law of averages. It's an interesting concept to consider in this context. It basically suggests that when luck hits you this big, winning a major lottery or inheriting a massive, unexpected fortune is about as far out on the positive end of the luck spectrum as you can get. You should be mindful because, as the saying goes, the pendulum swings both ways.
Meaning something equally bad is bound to happen. That sounds ominous.
No, it doesn't necessarily mean something equally bad must happen, not in a deterministic way. It's more of a philosophical reminder, really. It implies that life, in its grand tapestry, tends to seek a sort of equilibrium over the long run. After an extraordinary, statistically improbable stroke of good fortune, there can be a natural, perhaps even psychological tendency towards overconfidence, a belief that your good luck will continue indefinitely, or that you're somehow invincible now. And that mindset can lead directly to rash decisions and unnecessary risk-taking that does invite negative consequences. So the law of averages here serves as a gentle, cautionary nudge against that kind of hubris.
So the key word is balance.
Exactly. The critical word here, the practical takeaway derived from this concept, is absolutely balance. As long as you strive to maintain balance in your life financially, yes, but also emotionally, personally, in your relationships, and your lifestyle, you'll likely be fine. This concept really elevates the discussion beyond just money management. It frames it as holistic life management. It's about balancing that newfound financial freedom with prudence and responsibility. It's about managing the expectations of others while protecting your own boundaries. It's about understanding your own psychological needs for purpose and structure, even amidst wealth. It's about nurturing genuine relationships based on more than money. It's about maintaining your physical and mental health. It connects beautifully to that broader idea that achieving, and more importantly, maintaining equilibrium, thoughtful moderation, and a sense of perspective is absolutely fundamental to long-term well-being and genuine success, regardless of how much money you happen to have in the bank. It's a provocative thought, isn't it? How achieving and holding on to balance is maybe the ultimate key, especially after such a profound, potentially destabilizing shift in your circumstances.
Wow, that's a lot to think about. Okay, so just to quickly recap some of the absolute most crucial points from this deep dive for everyone listening.
Yeah.
That initial privacy, that silence, is paramount. It's for your own peace of mind and protection. Then, job number one, financially. Eliminate all your existing debt, but stop there no new debt right away.
Crucial.
Don't quit your job immediately. That purpose and structure are surprisingly vital. Let the money sit untouched for at least 6 months. Give yourself time to process this huge life-altering change before making any big moves. Prioritize learning and self-investment before you start spending significantly.
Learn before you burn.
Right. If you've inherited wealth with an advisor already in place, trust that proven expertise don't just switch advisors on a whim. Aim to get comfortable, not ostentatiously rich. Avoid those huge, flashy purchases with massive hidden recurring costs that just drain your fortune silently.
Yeah, the liabilities.
Protect your wealth fiercely but carefully. From requests from friends and family, learn that incredibly hard skill of saying no, maybe using your advisor as a buffer. Don't just rush into starting that dream business. Remember, 9 out of 10 fail, and you've likely used up your luck already.
Play it safe there.
Prepare yourself mentally for the profound changes and the unsettling fact that you will become a target for scams and lawsuits. Invest seriously in your health. It's the ultimate wealth that lets you actually enjoy everything else. Live by that 5% rule for potentially perpetual growth. Spend the income, never touch the principal.
The money tree principle.
Protect future generations using tools like trusts, balancing provision with fostering responsibility. And above all, safeguard your primary partnership mistakes become incredibly incredibly expensive. And the ultimate guiding principle through all of this, just play it safe. Recognize the immense, rare gift you've received and don't risk blowing it.
So, thinking about all that, what really stands out to you from these powerful insights, and maybe more profoundly, how might preparing mentally for such an unlikely event, sudden wealth, paradoxically change or improve your approach to managing the wealth you have right now, or perhaps the wealth you aspire to build through your own hard work and planning? Something to ponder.
Thanks for listening. To see you in the next deep dive, like, subscribe, and share.